Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So, just very quickly, whilst I do the recap, I won't get anybody else involved because then it will just take too long. So, we started the Bani, going through the Bani called Kuchaji. And to this particular Gurbani, there is a background to it. So there is a Sakhi that is linked to this Shabad or Bani, which was a Sakhi of Guru Nanak Gurdwara when he went to a place called Assam, which today now is in Bangladesh. Now, Guru Nanak Gurdwara, there's somebody called Noor Shah there, who was somebody that had accumulated a lot of powers and that used a lot of mantras to win people over. They had the power to hypnotize people, change people. And she was the Sardarni, as is written in the Puratan Janam Sakhi. Sardarni meaning she was like the empress of that area. So she had a lot of Jeliyan. She had a lot of women that followed her too. And so she was like the empress of them all. Bhai Mardana Ji went asking for some food. When he met somebody, went into somebody's house, Bhai Mardana Ji was made to think somebody put a tagga, tied a string over Bhai Mardana Ji's neck, around Bhai Mardana Ji's neck, and made Bhai Mardana Ji think and feel that Bhai Mardana Ji is around. Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji went to rescue Bhai Mardana Ji, and the lady that had actually done this and made Bhai Mardana Ji think that is around, that when she came back, she tried to do the same to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji, but she wasn't able to, and instead, the kara, the pot that she had on her head, that she had gone and filled with water, she wasn't able to remove from her head anymore. And upon Noor Shah finding this out, then she sends many other women to try and work the magic on Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji and try to change Guru Nanak Dev Ji as well into some form of animal or make them think or hypnotize them. But as each woman was coming forward to Pachaji, that wasn't able to have an effect on Guru Nanak Pachaji. That's when Guru Sahib Ji then uchard a Shabad first, which was the Shabad that you can see now on the screen, Gurmanti Shaurave Nirgun Kuke Kai. That Shabad we didn't go through in detail, but I just literally went through the literal translation last week. So that was the first Shabad. That's not the Bani that we picked to go through Kuchaji, but this is the first Shabad that Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji recited as when she couldn't move that pot from her head. After Guru Pachaji recited this particular Shabad, Noor Shah found out that somebody's come here that has more powers even than the women that I have trained. Then she sent many women to try and go and win Guru Nanak Dev Ji over. And as they came over, it was at that point then Maharaji uchar the Shabad that we just looked at, and then Noor Shah, then when she came herself, the actual empress of that area, of Assam, of Maqam Roop, and that's when then Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji went and started to recite this Bani called Kuchaji. So, and I know that was very fast, and a lot of you probably might have got a little lost en route, but that was last week's session, so I don't want to take and spend too long on it. So the word we went through, Kuchaji, somebody that hasn't yet got those virtues inside of her to please her husband, that's what we translated it to. Literally, it comes from the word judge, when somebody hasn't got the proper way of doing something. This Bani is in a language called Multani, which is called Lendi Pasha, which was southwest of the unbroken Punjab, which now sits in Pakistan, and that's why some of the words within this Bani are so different to what we are normally used to hearing. But when you look deep enough into that word, you will be able to find the original Punjabi word. It just throws you off the way the word is actually finished off. Professors, this I will go through in particular again this week. The reason why, because there's one particular pangati that I went through last week that I'm just going to give another little way of looking at it. So as we go through that one more way, Professor Sahib Singh, in regards to this particular Bani, if you can remember from last week, those of you that were here, if you can remember from last week, Professor Sahib Singh, when he goes through and translates this Bani called Kuchaji, he doesn't link this background and this Sakhi to this Bani. So he's saying that he feels that Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji was most likely in an area like Gurdaspur. The reason why he feels that Maharaji was in an area like Gurdaspur because there's a lot of mangoes that are grown there. And he feels like when the farmers get tired and as the day is coming to an end, before the sun sets, he feels to go and rest and just to get out of the sun for that little while, that the farmers go and sit underneath this tree. And but Professor Sahib Singh feels that this Bani was recited as Guru Nanak Dev Ji is looking towards these farmers sitting under the shade of a mango tree, getting away from that hot sun and from that hard day's work, just trying to have some time out. Keep that in mind now, because there's an art of a particular pankti we're going to go through that we didn't do last week, keeping that in mind. So this is the opening pankti, it's the first pankti for this particular Bani, which was Bani Kuchaji, Amavan Dosade, Okyo Shoharavan Jai Jio. And as you can hear, that it's very different to the Punjabi that we know, some of the words that you can see in this pankti. Basically what this pankti is saying, that Man meaning I am, and Kuchaji is translated here as ill-mannered, and then going into a bit more detail in the brackets. So basically saying that I am ill-mannered, I don't have the virtues to please you, talking to her husband, and saying I'm full of endless faults, that how can I go to enjoy? So basically what does it mean, how can I go to enjoy you? Basically means, how can I please you? How can I be one with you in this state that I'm in at the moment, that I just don't know how to do? I can't get anything right. So how is it possible for me to come and to become one with you and enjoy your company at the moment? And as we said last week, what that pankti represented. So we're going to look at this. Whenever we look at any Gurbani, we want to try and get into a habit in looking at it in three modes. And that is basically, first when we look at the pankti. So if everyone wants to try and keep this in mind, because whoever has attended today, I'm sure everyone here reads some form of Bani at least. Okay, some little more. But the way we should get into a habit of reading Gurbani, so that we take the pankti, then we look at the literal meaning of that pankti, number one. Once we've looked at the literal meaning, then we look at what we call is a bhav arth. Bhav arth means, so like what it actually means. So it's a metaphor. What is the message behind the metaphor? That's the second way to look at the pankti. And who can just quickly say from last week, how has Guru Maharaji uchared this Bani, in which way? Remember the term we said, Maharaj ne apne aap nu sambodhan karke. Can anybody remember what that means? Paji? Benji? Well, I'll give Paji, sorry, go on. Oh, it's okay.
No, it's okay.
Go. Paji, can you remember what that means?
Saying to themselves.
Anji, so basically, if you know some of these little phrases, if you can learn these phrases and remember these phrases, they come up very often when you hear Punjabi kathakars. So when somebody will say that Maharaj ne eh shabd apne aap nu sambodhan karke ucharya, basically that means that Maharaj has taken it upon themselves. Just to get you guys thinking a little bit, why would Maharaj do that? Because we know that Maharaj is revealed in Gurbani themselves that they have gotten to be one with Vaheguruji and enjoy Vaheguruji and be absolute immersed in Vaheguruji. So we know that about Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So then why would they be calling themselves a Kuchaji to say that I'm ill-mannered, that I don't get it, I don't know how to please my husband? Why would Maharaji do that? Why would they take this upon themselves? So imagine, this is a Sakhi now. There's all these women that are practicing all these different types of magic and all these different types of what we today call Jadoo Tuna, whatever you want to call it. And they're hypnotizing people, they win people over to get them under their control. Apane vas karna bandiyan nu. Why would Maharaji sit there And it's meant to be said to them, but then Maharaji is saying it, I am Bani Kuchaji, amavana dosade. How again? Remember the word how? It means I. How kyo shohar avana jaye jiyo, that how can I go and be one with my Akal Purkh, with Pati? Why would Maharaji do that? Why would they take it upon themselves? It's quite obvious, but just to make sure everyone's awake and is with us. Koi bhi haath chak ke. Benji, you got a big smile on your face. Why would Maharaji do that? Why would they take it on themselves? Why would they say that I'm a Kuchaji? That
Is it that we're always meant to self-reflect, even though how big we get or how, son-like we get, we should always self-reflect all the time?
Yeah, so it's because of self-reflection. Because how easy is it to forget to look at ourselves? Because imagine now, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pachaji uchar this shabad and said, and was saying it directly to them, directly to Noor Shah, and saying that, Tu Kachaji. So if Maharaji now said, Tu Kachaji amavan dosade, that Tu kyon shohravan jaiju, how are you meant to go and be with your husband, and that you are a Kuchaji? When we read this Bani, why laughing? So when we then, imagine reading this Bani like that, Tu Kachaji, how would we feel? What would we start thinking? What would be our state of mind reading it like that? It'd be so easy to forget that I need to look at myself. We just keep thinking, they're talking about Rajan, not me. You just take that whole responsibility away from you. It's got to be Rajan, it can't be me. It's that kind of, it's because Maharaj Bani udda ucharde, apna man vi udda nu chal panda a. Would never think, nahi main thoda ho sakda. So it's to self-reflect constantly. Maharaji took it upon themselves to say, I know tusi kidda de hain. Mainu pata tusi apne aap nu bula lena hai. So now when you're reading it, you can now call yourself one. Yeah? So it's to put yourself in them shoes. So this is about, as you can see from the picture, it's about looking in. And that's what she's got, that quality of doing that. Okay. So then this was the second. He said this pankti, what it meant was that the second pankti is that ek du ek chadan diyan kaun jane mera naam jiyo. And we went through how this is a very common phrase used in Punjabi. So basically, ek du, so basically this term means, like when you think, yeah, you know what, I'm not very good, but like such and such is, you walk into a room and then you think, oh, how amazing is she? She's got so many qualities. And then you're in awe with that person that you've just met. And then you turn around, you go and meet the next person and you're thinking, oh my God, she's better even than the last one. And then the next one's even better than the last one. And that's what ek do ek chadan diya means, vadiya to vadiya. Okay? So Maharaji says, ek do ek chadan diya kaun jane mera naam jiyo. So it's now, remember, this is all about, we've got to think of this now to be us. So we're thinking like now, if I want to be one with, if I want to please Guru Sahib Ji, if I want to be one with Waheguru Ji, there's so many that have pleased Waheguru Ji. What am I amongst them? And then the third pankti, Jini Sakhi Shaurabya se Ambi Shavadiye hai jiyo. So this was then the first pankti that came, where a metaphor is used, and then where it kind of got all the Sangat thinking and got everybody involved. So in here, we're going to give now one more arth to this that we didn't give last week. Okay, so someone from last week, who can remember what this pankti was? So how did we translate this pankti from last week? Jini Sakhi Shauraveya se Ambi Shavadiye hai jiyo. He said that Jini Sakhi, those soul brides that have become absolute one with Waheguru Ji and is now found that peace inside of them, they become like, it feels as if they have become that shadow for us, that shade for us, maaf karna. So, when you go to sit under a tree and you get away from the heat and you feel protected and you feel out of all that burning heat, when you're amongst those people that have already found peace inside of them, you feel peace being amongst them. But I want to share one other way of looking at this pankti. Another way of looking at this is, imagine this now. Remember what we said in the beginning of what Professor Sahib Singh said. So Professor Sahib Singh said he feels that Guru Nanak Dev Ji char this Bani as they're looking at some farmers sitting under a tree. So some of you might be thinking, how comes Baji is going to do now a second translation? So why are we going to look at it another way? How can one pankti mean more than one thing? The reason for that is because we can never know the limits of Gurbani. So we can try our best from knowing, breaking down the words, and then the Mahapurukhs before us, the Steeks, the professors, and everybody else, the way they have broken down Gurbani, we can use that. We can look at grammar. We can use all that for assistance, but nobody can ever say that this is it. This is final, full stop, and that's all it can mean. And because then we're actually saying we're putting a limit to Waheguru. And you're thinking, well, I thought he was talking about Gurbani. How are we limiting Waheguruji? Because Bani is the form of Waheguruji. So when we say that Bani, Guru hai Bani, when we say Turki Bani ai, when we say Vaho Vaho Bani Nirankara hai, so that means that Bani is limitless. That's why it's open to say that, well, somebody has seen it like this, somebody has seen it like this. I used to see it like this, now I see it like this, but nobody can say this is it. Okay? So another way of looking at this, so it's talking about a mango tree now and saying, Guru Sahib Ji said, Jini Sakhi Shauravya, those that have that apne Shaupatinu that have enjoyed, that become one with their Waheguru, that say Ambi Shabdi ye hai jiyo, they are taking the shade of a mango tree. Another beautiful way of looking at this, imagine now, remember what we said, Professor Sahib Singh saying Guru Nanak Dev Ji is standing in a field. So imagine it like this now. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is standing in a field and they glimpsing over this mango tree. At the same time, what they catch, what they see is, what catches their eye is somebody still out on the fields. Somebody still working out in the fields, and it's a hot summer's day. And the heat is just gleaming down from the sun. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji looks at this person. They've tried to cover themselves and protect themselves from the heat, but you can tell they're burning. The back's burning, and from inside, you get frustrated when you're out in the heat. Guru Nanak Dev Ji looks at that person and saying that this is what happens when somebody's separated from Akal Purkh, from Waheguruji. Somebody that's completely forgotten, that as their home and their ego is completely taken over them. It's just like that person being outside in the sun burning. And something that describes that beautifully is the first pankti from the month of Asar, and from Guru Arjan Dev Ji Pachaji's Bani from Barama. Asar ta panda tis lage har na hona jinna paas. So Guru Sahib Ji saying that in the month of Asar, in this particular month, it says tapanda is burning. Asar tapanda tis lage. This is only those feel that burning heat that har na hona jinna paas. And naho again means husband, just like shoho. So naho means husband as well. It says those that haven't got their husbands beside them, they are the ones that are burning. So even though they've related it to the outside weather, but they're actually talking about inside here. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying those that haven't got the shade of the tree and outside burning, they are like those that are completely separated and being taken over by home from inside. They're burning inside as well. They're burning in desires, they're burning in jealousy, and they're completely ruining their inside. But Guru Nanak Dev Ji then looked over to those that are sitting in the shade. And in the last pankti of that very body of Asar Mihina, Guru Sahib Ji looks at somebody completely calm, no sun, they're protected from the sun, and then this says Asar Suhanda tis lage jis man har charan nivas. They said, look, the weather's the same. It's not as if the sun's gone, the sun's still there. The temperature is still the same as well. So Guru Sahib Ji saying that it doesn't matter, it's that person is in the same world. So two sets of people, they're in the same world, they're around the same maya, they're around the same falsehood, they're around the same challenges, but one hasn't taken the protection and connected to Waheguruji, and they're burning from inside. But then the other person is in the same atmosphere, around the same challenges, but they've connected to Waheguru Ji and taken that protection, taken that sharan, has gone into the sanctuary of Waheguru Ji, led by their Guru. And Guru Sahib Ji says, well, them, he says, Asad Sohanda kis lage, jis man har charan nivas, jinne us de charna de nivas andar kar liya, then they feel that absolute calmness inside. Those that trishna, those desires that are burning them just start to just soothe off. So that was another way of looking at this Pankti, the way Guru Nanak Dev Ji is looking at these two sets of people. And then she went through how Se Gun Manjana Avani, how Kaji Dost Reojiyo. Then she talks about that, like, you know what, that I just haven't got those virtues that it takes to please my husband. But then she's not blaming anyone else for it. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying, if I haven't got those virtues, I can't say, well, it's your fault. They're saying that the truth is, it's my own fault. The word dosh means to blame someone else. Taking responsibility, very important. Self-reflection. So hopefully you're getting an idea of what Gurbani should be doing for us. So now compare that a little bit to sometimes what we end up making our Nityanim into. There's a lot of us that just read our Nityanim because we know it's just something we have to do, and then we need to just get to our life, whether that's work, whether that's our children, whoever it is. But actually, there should be Pankti and just hitting us in our face, which is completely making us self-reflect and taking responsibility. Until we don't take responsibility, that, you know what, actually it's me, I just haven't got that quality. Until then, we're not going to be able to go forward. And this is where she kind of admitted what her problem was, why she hasn't been able to please her husband, because she's got stuck in materialistic things that her husband has provided her with. Remember, so we're looking at now just the normal relationship between a husband and a wife, but this is actually talking about the internal relationship, about the soul bride and Waheguru Ji. So then she starts to say, well, this is it, this is my problem. Soina rupa rangala moti te manik jiyo se vastu she dittiyan main tin se ulaya chit jiyo. She said, I ended up attaching, my whole focus, my whole consciousnness is attached to what I've been given by my husband instead of my husband. That was my downfall. This is what I was saying last week, when it gets quite interesting, when Maharaji, the poetry here is absolutely beautiful, and this is like the metaphors that really make you think that what is Maharaji saying. So now what we're going to do is go through word for word now, break down some of the words now. So Maharaji is now saying, Ambar kunja kurliyan bag baithe aaye. So what we'll do is go through some of the literal meanings of the words. So we've got over there, Ambar means sky, theek hai? And who already knew that Ambar meant sky? Okay, so those of you that watch Hindi films and stuff and movies and have listened to your that fair amount of Hindi songs back in the day, I'm sure you've heard this word come up a lot. Okay, I knew that word, right? I was a fan of Hindi films back in the day. Right, admit karna vinda. Ma is saying Ambar Kunja. So Kunja, very interestingly, I did a lot of Khoj on this. Everybody know what Khoj means? Yeah? Research. Yeah? So, did I research on this? But when you look at the translation, it doesn't actually come up with what it actually is. So that's what, remember how we said that you've got to be careful with some of the English translation. It can be a little out sometimes. So Kunja, over here, Kunja is plural. Okay, so if it wasn't plural, just to like make sure everybody's like kind of learning Punjabi at the same time. So over here, it's spelled without a bindi on top of the kanna. But in the Punjabi, to make it plural, you would actually pronounce it as kunja. Can you hear the difference? So it's spelled kunja, but in Punjabi, to make it plural, it'd actually be kunja. So to make it, if it was singular, then it would just be kunj. Simple. Singular is kunj, one bird, kunja, but spelled kunja. And some of our Veer in the Panth will say as it is. Some of our Veer in the Panth or Pana as well, sorry, will add the bindi and say kunja. Kunja makes it plural, but what is a kunj? Kunj, so it's a particular type of crane bird. I can't say this word, guys. I'm going to give it a shot though. Called Demoiselle. One of them anyway. Yeah. So basically, what it is, that it's a particular type of crane bird that isn't really found here, but more so in India. But it's got a black head. Right? So these are very important to understand what this pankti is saying. Okay? So then Maharaji is saying Kuraliyan. So what would you first think? Who would have known before looking at that translation what Kuraliyan meant? Again, it's a plural word, so as per some people's pronunciation of Gurbani, we'll actually add the bindi and say Kurliyan with a bindi Kurliyan. So what would you think? First hearing that word, what that meant? Benji, you got a big smile on your face. Huh? Yeah, when you're gurgling. You know, when like, it's like when we say to our kids, Oi korli karla, or kruli karla. It makes it sound like that because you're making this sound, gurgling noise. So over here, it's talking about the sound that this black-headed crane bird makes when she's flying around. So it's like a really squealing, crying, a very high-pitched type of noise she's making. Okay, so that's the sound she makes. And then we've got the word bug. Comes up quite often in Gurbani, which also means a crane bird, but this is one with a greyish and white head. Okay, so different to a kunj, but the same type of bird. Okay, so now who knows where this word comes up in our Nityanem Bani, Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Pathji's Bani, but it comes up as bak. In a bak, it comes up as bak. I heard somebody say, right, Idron, awaaz aayi si? Hanje, so it comes from Savaiye. What's the pankti? Who reads Savaiye every morning? Who reads Savaiye every morning? Huh? So the same word comes up. So over here it's bug, but over there it's bak. I'm saying this so that we're alert when we do our Nityanem. Kaha pe ho? Do lochan moond ke baith rahe ho, bak dhyan lagayo. Yeah? So who knows what that pankti means when they read the Savaiye in the morning? Kaha pe ho? Guru Sahib ji saying, so what if? Fake hi hoya? Kaha pe ho? Jo, do, both, lochan, eyes. He said, and what if you have both of your eyes closed? Kaha pe ho jo do lochan moond ka? Moond means to close both of them. Guru Sahib ji says, so what if you sit there with your eyes closed? Kaha pe ho jo do lochan moond ke baith rahe ho, bak dhyan lagayo. They said, so what if you sit there like a crane bird, as if you're in samadhi, as if you're meditating with your eyes closed? You're not really in samadhi. You're just waiting. You're just watching for a fish to come up in the pond so you can grab it. Do the chutaya. Yeah. So a bug very often in Gurbani is used for somebody that is actually pretending to be someone that they're not. But I'm not gonna confuse you guys. Over here it's not used in that context. But just to show you how the same animal is used in different places, because you know what happens? Because when we see it now, when we do this, if I hadn't told you that, you'd go back. When this word came up, you would have thought, I know what this means. But it could be the other way. And it catches us out then. So we've got to know the context in how that word comes. So very important. So over here, we're talking the bug is a white crane bird. Then Satan challi sohore. Guru Sahib ji says, Satan challi sohore. Kya muh desi agge jaye jiyo. And now let's just go through some of these words. Satan. Sa means that. Tan here. So you know now here, looking at the board, that tan here means bride. But when you're normally reading Gurbani, would you think that tan means bride? So who would have thought that it could mean bride, tan? Put your hands up. One, two. Okay. So there's a couple. Okay. So what else does it come up as?
Well,
Sorry?
well.
Yes, tan comes up as wealth.
Body,
Great. Sorry, what was that, Benji?
that your body.
Shout नहीं बच्चों करना हाथ उत्तर करना. Okay, एक जन. Benji, go on, last aloud.
Body, like
Body, not spelled like this. How is body spelled? Sorry, with A? Huh? No. No. Tatta. So instead of a tatta, so if it was body, then it would spell with a tatta. Okay, so which would be soft, tan. Okay, but tan can mean wealth. A lot of the times it means wealth. Say if it now had a tippi on there, what could it mean then? So if it had tan, we're saying it through our nose now, tan. What could it mean then? Haath utte karo. You can go last.
Hail.
Sorry?
Hail, like praise.
Yeah, kind of. Is a more like kind of, more or less that, yes.
Blessed.
Yeah, it comes up as blessed. So if it had a tippi on it, so if it's through your nose, tan, yeah, but don't get caught out again. Maharaji might have the word blessed, but without the tippi. Okay, so it's not, but this is majority rules. Okay, these rules are like for majority, so it's good to like for us to know. Satan challi sohore. So everybody knows the word sohore. Yes, most of us here. Sohore kar jana. Yeah, I think some of the girls are ready to start crying now. Yeah, so sohore kar. Okay, and then the word here that is spelled mama onkar, haha onkar. So literally, if we as it's spelled, then it would be so muho, muho. Okay. Some people would actually just pronounce that as mu, but most of the Bant will say muho. What does that mean? What's mu? Anji? Mouth. Okay. Yeah, mu is mouth. Okay. Mouth, face. Okay. Mouth or face. It could come up as what else? What does it sound? What else does it sound like? Just in case it comes up somewhere else. Mo as attachment. Yeah. So Satan Challi Sohre Kya here means which. Keda which. Okay. So Kya Moh Desi. So Desi I've translated here, which comes from everybody heard the word Desh. Yes, country, okay, or in Gurbani, it could mean world as well, okay. So Agge, meaning next. Okay. So now, who wants to, before we even look at the literal translation, who wants to put this into a sentence as it is, as in like the literal translation? So who wants to do the literal translation to this Pangti? Without cheating. Don't cheat, easy. Put it into a sentence, just translate it literally, put it into a sentence. Know the first Pankti, Ambar Kunja Kurliyan Band Baithe Aaye Jio. Who wants to put that into a sentence first? Just literally, let's not look at the metaphor yet, let's just literally translate it first. Why I'm getting you, remember I said this last week, the reason why I'm getting you guys to do it is because you'll remember it better this time, because it's making you think.
Birds, the birds are flying in the sky.
Okay, yes. Ambar Kunja Kurliyan. So the birds are in the sky. Benji, sorry, Suman.
Yeah, no,
I don't
it's
mean to
fine.
be rude, but
Sorry.
well, I think we'll move on from this. Benji.
ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਫੂਡ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਜਿਹਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤੂਸ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਲਾਈਕ ਉਹ ਜਿਹਨਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਵਰਡ ਆ ਇਹ ਪੰਛੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਬੈਠਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਬੈਠਾ ਆ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਉਹਦੀਆਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਬਾਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਦੂਰ ਤੱਕ ਅੰਬਰ ਤੱਕ ਹੁੰਦੀ
Okay, ਠੀਕ ਹੈ. Kind of. Okay, so let's put it into a sentence first, into the literal let's do the literal translation of both the Panktiyan, and then we'll start guessing the metaphors, which is always fun. So, This is the literal translation that I've just copied and pasted. So this is, we're not looking at the metaphor yet or anything else. So Guru Sahib is saying, Ambar Kunja Kulyang Bab Bathe Aijiyo, Satan Tali Saure, Kya Muhundesi Agge Jaijiyo. The cranes shriek overhead in the sky, and the herons, they've used the word herons, but I've used the word, remember what did we say the bug is? Yeah, so the white crane, okay? And have come to rest. The bride has gone to her father-in-law's house in the world hereafter. What face will she show? Okay, so now let's try and guess them. I'll put that into my own words as well. But then let's try and guess the metaphor for the first pankti. So what Guru Sahib Ji is saying here is Ambar Kunja Kurliyan. Remember, so Guru Sahib Ji is saying, so that is the black-headed crane is now in the sky. So has gone into the sky, is flying, and is screaming, is crying, or is this sound that she's making, or korlondi peiya. Okay? So everybody can picture that? And everybody picture this black-headed crane in the sky, flying about, and is crying and making this noise. ठीक है? And then Guru Sahib Ji says the bagger, then the white-headed crane has come and sat. Bag baithe aaye, baga ke beh gaya. What do you think Guru Sahib Ji is saying here? What's the metaphor? So those, sorry Veerji, you're not allowed to go in it. I'm sure we've done vichar on this. But anyway, the Sangat, like I said, our Sangat can go last. Let's give everyone else, not that I've got my own Sangat in that sense, like, well, I'm not a cult to anything. But anyway, Benji.
So the ones that have black heads.
Okay.
Or the ones that are kind of in the darkness of ignorance, so they kind of don't know where they're going and they're just screaming and shouting in confusion. And
Okay.
they've got no place of rest. Whereas the white ones are kind of the enlightened ones who have the inner gyan and are just resting in one.
Okay. It's a good way of looking at it. So now, so Banji's kind of followed the context of the Bani. But so I'm not trying to trick you guys here and like make you trip up. So try and think about the metaphor, keeping the second pankti in mind. So what's the second pankti saying? Remember, so this is a bride here talking about going to her in-laws' house. So she's saying, remember, imagine now you being a bride and you're saying, Satan, challi saure, I'm going to my in-laws' house now. Kya muh desi agge jaijiyo? What face am I going to take to my in-laws' house? Let's try and work this out as well. So what's this all about? That might help put into perspective what the metaphor actually is. Who wants to guess? Try and just work out and understand what this means. A lot of it's given away. The second one, it's already given the metaphor away almost, because it's saying that the sahore. So what is the sahore? Because it's in the English translation, it's given away. You get it? So if you get this pankti, you might get the first one. So imagine what is this really saying? Remember, the soul bride, it's not an actual wife, it's actually our soul bride. So what father-in-law's, what in-law's house is this talking about? Going where? Sorry? Not necessarily to
When you
Sachkhand.
die.
Sorry?
When you die.
Yes, it's just talking about death here. Okay? Remember, she's the unfortunate one. She's not the one that's made her husband happy. This is just talking about death. She's saying that Satan, the time's come. I'm going. I'm actually now time to leave this world. What face will I go with? So keep that in mind now. Thinking of somebody's feeling that they've failed, death has come. He's thinking, what face will I take? What do you think now that first pankti means? Alright.
Is she the soul bride? Is she the Kuchaji, the black bird?
Mm-hmm.
And she's basically saying that I'm gonna be screaming and shouting and crying, like, because I've got the black face. And then the white bird is like the people that have done good and they're gonna be resting. So I'm gonna be the one that's been crying when I die. I'm gonna be.
I can see where you're trying to go with this. Very similar to what Benji was saying, like as in the black representing the ignorance and like crying and like thinking I've messed up and having all that weight behind her. And that is like, that's the way Professor Sahib Singh has looked at it. I'm not going to say he's wrong, but I will say that no other art has been done like that, not by any other steek. And within this context, it doesn't actually go as well, and it can't be backed up that by other parts of Gurbani. The other parts of Gurbani can actually back up what this actually is referring to. So we can actually almost like prove that it could kind of only be one thing really, because it can be proved by other Gurbani and the context that it's in. Okay, we'll have two more and then we'll move on. Benji.
So thinking about the like fortunate soul bride sitting under the mango tree, I thought that with the where it says like the herons have come to rest, it's similar to that again. So like anyone is that good bride is in that place right now, whereas the unfortunate bride kind of behaves that way. How she has to go.
Okay, so this one actually, you know, this Maharaji, this example is actually a physical example. So you know the blackness is talking about something physically black on our bodies, and then the white is actually something physically white on our body. Rav, was you going to say something different to that, or was it within that?
I wasn't sure about so white hair and black.
Yes. So basically, so in Gurbani, you'll hear this metaphor being used not only by Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So what this is actually saying is, but that was beautiful to hear all the different vichars, because it actually did fit in with what Professor Sahib Singh has already done. So, you know, it's not bad, people. Bhakt Kabir ji said something very similar, so it kind of, we can back it up from Gurbani. It says, "Rain gayi, mat din pi jaye, pavar gaye, bhag baithe aaye." So Bhakt Kabir ji saying that rain gayi, so the night has passed, and the night being what? Representing my youth, when I had black hair, the ambar kunja kurliyan, so the black headed is literally my youth of when I have black hair. And so Bhakt Kabir ji uses a very similar metaphor, say, "Rain gayi, the night has passed of my youth. Mat din pi jaye." In this, the metaphor has actually been explained. Don't let the day go, the day meaning white, chitta. Don't let my old age pass as well without me actually getting to connect with my husband, Lord. And then the black bumblebee has flown away, referring to my black hair. And then said, "Bhag baithe aaye," and then the white crane of white hair has come and sat. So that's exactly what this means. So it's basically when old age takes over. This is what this means. It's saying, Guru Teg Bahadur talks about this a lot. So they're saying that Tarnapo yo hi geo. And I know there's a lot of you sitting here that could probably relate to this Pankti. I'm not being cheeky to saying you're getting old or anything. You know, but there's some of you that could probably relate to this. So you know, this is beautiful what Guru Teg Bahadur is saying. This says that Tarnapo yo hi geo. You know, in Punjabi it just says bas aidha hi chal gaya. Meaning pata hi nahi laga kede vele. You mean it means like you didn't even realize, it's just passed by. And you know, like sometimes like we're in certain things we do in life in our youth, and we think it's so important, and we think like, oh my God, like like, you know, you can't see past what you're going through sometimes in life at that moment. You look back to it and you can't even remember it anymore, but it's so important to you that. And you group there, but Tarnapo means youth. It's just gone past. I didn't even realize where it's gone. Tarnapo eo hi geo leo jara tan jeet. What's jara? Comes up a lot in Gurbani. Someone shout it out. Jara. Hanji? Buddha. हाँ, जरा means बुढ़ा, बुढ़ेपा. नहीं तो सीनियर ले होए कोई नहीं फिर. So jara is old age. Okay, it comes a lot in Gurbani as well. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Paatji uses the word jara rang. Okay, jara rang means that the word jara is in there, means old age, and the word arang means enemy. And saying Waheguru Ji is the enemy of old age. Meaning that old age can never win over Vaheguru Ji. Vaheguru Ji is Jara Rang. But everybody else, that time will come with Jara, and old age wins us over. Jara Tanajit, it's winning us over, it's taking over, we're not in control, got no power over it. That's what it means, Ambar Kunja Kuraliyan. Okay, we'll look at what the crying means in a little bit as well. Guru Sahib Ji saying then, wake up, utho jago. This is what this is about. It's saying that Hunta Maut aa gayi, she's saying. And remember, this Maut isn't only for old people. When Guru Sahib is saying Maut aa gayi, they're saying to us that life is just what? Is one breath. So they're saying wake up, saying Kaho Nanak Paj Har Mana. Old Jat hai beat. The word old means age. They said it's passing you by. Again, and then Bhagat Freedji, beautiful slow. They're saying Frida Kali Jinina Ravya Toli Rave Kwe. See, you know, sometimes if we just say the Bani as in like in the right way and pronounce it correctly, the meaning, the artha almost come out. So you know, when, like, imagine now saying this Pankti, Bhagat Freedji is like, feel what Bhagat Freedji is saying. He's saying Frida Kali Jinina Ravya. Remember the word Ravya means to enjoy. Bhagat Freedji is saying Frida Kali, when you had black hair in your youth, Kali Jinina Ravya, that didn't enjoy their husband in their youth. Toli Rave Koe. They're saying only very few will actually be able to enjoy their husband in old age. What does that mean? You know, some people say, oh, pyar time, you know, japunge naam when I'm 60, 70, 80. Gurbani is saying, you know, when you get to that age and you've trained your entire life of doing things, whatever you've been doing, and they don't think you're going to be then able to connect. But what Bhagat Freedji is saying, there's only very few people in this world that is going to be able to do that, because you're going to be so fixated in the way you've become, your sanskar that you've taken on, the way you've gotten used to being. Okay? And the other thing here is Guru Sahib Ji saying, it's not that nobody will be able to do this. So it's not that you can't, it's that if you haven't connected to Vaheguru Ji and to Guru Sahib Ji in your youth, that you won't be able to in your old age. It's just saying that there's only very few that will be able to do that.
On that bit, just like you and Rajan saying, could you also say when you're old, you get married when you're younger, because that's when you're like desirable and whatnot. When you're older, no one kind of, you know, people.
That's kind of the example Guru Sahib is using. It's like, you know, that those special moments you get to have with your partner and stuff. Like, it's difficult when you get of an old age to do things together and just have those moments of doing things. So this is actually jarred in that context of a couple. So moving on. So basically, so we've already covered this. So this is what that Pankti is saying to us, that Satan Jaldi Sohore. So it's basically, it's talking about time is up. That bas ho gaya time. Right? And then Satan Jaldi Sohore kya muh desi agge jai jiyo. She's like worried now. She's saying that what face am I going to go with? So remember how we said we want to start looking at things a bit deeper than just the surface, and how we tend to like just, we kind of look at them. It's not just about looking at the literal translation and then we've looked at the metaphor and we think we've got it now. We've got to understand it deeper than for ourselves now. So now we've got to think that, what does it mean that what face? What do you think it meant that Ravan, this demon that took away Sita, the wife of Ramchandra, that, you know, they said that he was the 10-headed demon. What do you think that means? What do you think his 10 heads represented?
He was everywhere. Oh, sorry,
No, go.
It's knowledge.
Anji?
Knowledge and wisdom.
Yes, so there's one way of looking at it is knowledge of wisdom, because he did so much tapasya and he had so much wisdom. Somebody's given a bit of a twist on that to say what we can learn from his 10 heads, and keeping this now in mind, that kya muh desi agge jaiji, with what face am I going to go? Keda muh leke jana ya? Because I'm sure whoever's sitting here, they must have been in some position in their life where they've thought they've got to go and see someone, they've totally messed up something, and they're thinking, how am I going to face them? What face am I going to show them now? Who's ever been in that? I'm sure you guys probably can connect to that, and you're thinking like, I know I've messed up, totally messed up. But what does it mean, these being like saying, what does she mean by which face shall I take? What does the 10 heads of Ravan represent?
Cleverness.
Sorry?
Cleverness.
Yes, it's almost like this cleverness. You know, in this world, we can cheat people. We can actually use different faces. Ravan had many sides to him. Ravan was very wise as well. Sorry, it's just that we did Katha and Kirtan last week. It's probably all that amount to be tired. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, so Ravan, not that you guys have anything in common, you know. So Ravan, he didn't only have a face of wisdom. He didn't only have that face of where he meditated a lot. But remember, amongst those faces is that face that picked up Sita. Amongst that face is the face of power, that face of pride, that face that wants to be at the top. There's that face that kidnapped someone. There's that face of Gam. And in this world, I know for myself, I've got many faces. This is what this is about. Self-reflection is being real now, to say, oh, in this world, I can actually pull it off. Sometimes I can be someone else at home, and then I can sit here and do a lecture to you guys and be the saintly person. But then behind doors, I can be that gruddi person, different face there. But then I don't have to show you guys that face. And this is about thinking about, well, when I go to that world, when I leave here, everything's going to be on display. All my faces are going to be on display. Guru Sahib says, Nanga dojak chaleya. Dozak, the word is dozak with a Z. And it's saying that it's an Arabic word. Dozak means hell. And so basically referring to like when we leave this world, you're not going to have this face to try and cover up all the other faces that you have inside of you. It says, it means that everything, what you actually are, is all going to be on display. You cannot run from Waheguru then. That's it. We're in trouble, guys. You know, Baji's like having a moment thinking, oh my God! Yeah. So, Nanga dojak chaleya. Then this says, this is khara daravana. Those, you know, those things inside of us that are hid from other people. This says that they're going to be seeing that of you on display, you're going to actually look daravana, you're going to look scary, you're going to look terrifying. You know, like sometimes when just bahut koi gusse cha aa janda, have you ever seen their face? Imagine taking a picture of them in that moment. It's like they probably look so scary and like just horrible, and they just put you off. And it says, oh, what face are you going to go with? Which one are you going to take? The fake one or the real one? You haven't got a choice there. You have to go with all of them. You can't hide any of them. So this is how you make this real and take it to yourself. Then, so just putting this all together now, what is that crying? Why are they saying that? Why is that crying? That crying, the black-headed crane bird has flown into the sky and is now crying. The white crane, it's supposed to be, has come and sat. So meaning the black hair of youth has left me and the white hair of old age has come. Now I'm thinking back to my youth and crying. That's what that crying is regret. Maut's come, it's too late. And I'm thinking, Maki, what have I done? That moment of realization, I'm thinking it's too late. Now you're crying. You might not physically be crying out, but inside is thinking, like that crane squealing inside in pain, thinking this is it, it's all over. That you're thinking back to your youth, crying, as I cannot bring back that last time now. So we've got 4 pangtiyan left, and you'll often find this trend in a lot of banis and a lot of shabads. So remember, we've gone through a process. She spoke about why she has lost her path, what she's gotten stuck into. She's put her hands up to it. She's looked inside. She's not blaming anyone. But there's still something left to do yet. She still can't. She's still not out of it. The solution. She still hasn't found a solution. She's still not found a way out. So, if we go through. Sorry, 1 second. Should we do it this way? And then, so the next Panktiyan, Guru Sahib is saying that Sutti chal thiya pulli vaatadiyas jiyo tash nalo muttiyas dukha ku tariyas jiyo. So Sutti, everybody knows what Sutti means, yes? Okay, so it's a feminine word. Everyone understands that, Anna. She's talking about a woman sleeping, a girl sleeping, so it's talking about the bride, Anna, so the wife. So she's saying Sutti chal. The word chal has been translated, which means early morning, dawn, okay, and it comes up in Gurbani in different forms as well. The same word comes up as chalanga as well, okay. What's the Pankti? Do you remember the Pankti? Chalanga uttanam jap. Chalange uttanam jap. Yeah, there you go. So it comes up in slightly different forms as well, but it just literally means the early morning, getting up, Hana. And then so the other word that probably catch you out amongst this Pankti is, so everybody's happy with, everybody knows what pulli means, yes? Pulli? Everyone happy with that? Yes? Somebody that's lost their way, Again, feminine, the word is, and then vatad, yes. Okay, see how, because it's a different dialect, soon as we hear a word said like that, we're thinking, oh my God, what does that mean? But in Gurbani, before you go into that panic mode and thinking, oh no, I don't know what that means, just slow down and split it up. Because it just comes from the word vad. Sometimes you hear in Punjabi bad, and who's heard? So if you put that into a sentence, someone says bahut lambi baat hai. Okay, it's such a long journey, such a long path to go on. So then it's just that vatad, yes, is because remember it's in that particular dialect, which is Lendi Pasha Multani. Okay, otherwise the word is just vat means journey. So what we're doing here is we're just breaking down some of the words. And in Steeks it's called doing the Pada Arth, that's what we refer to it as. So then we've got Ta, Sheh. So Ta means so from you. And then remember the word, but this Sheh means Pati. But over here in the context of, is saying look, hey Pati, so hey husband. And remember first it came up as Shoho with a ha-ha and then an onkar. And it's also come up with a ha-ha sihari as well. And then over here we've got muttiyas. Muttiyas means separated. Okay. And then we've got tariyas, which means to take something on. And which can come up also in loads of different forms. So tariyas, you might hear it come up as tar and karna. Has everybody heard that sentence, put it into sentence like that? When he says kuch tar and karna, means to take something on. Okay? So those are some of the literal words. But now let's start putting this together. So who wants to start guessing what the metaphor is? Let's just quickly do the literal translation. Literal translation, someone? Let's put this into a sentence now. So everybody knows it's talking about sutti, meaning somebody, so the bride being asleep, the wife being asleep. Sutti chal. Chal, remember, means morning, dawn. Sutti chal thiya. Thiya means basically when you receive something or something has come now. So it's just saying the morning has come. So don't get caught out by some of these little words as well. Pulli, remember, means when somebody's lost their way. Vatriyas means journey. Geo is just, it's like they've used that in the whole because of the poetry. So basically it's just saying that she sutti, she just remained asleep. Sutti rahi bichari. And what happened? Chal thiya. And then as the day dawned, that pulli vatriyas geo, she forgot all about her journey. So this one should be a little bit easier to guess, I think, what Maharaj is actually saying here. So who now wants to work out what Bab, Artha, what it's actually saying to us? So now you can see the translation up there as it is, the literal meaning. So what's going on? Should we have a picture to help us? There you go. Has that helped in any way? Everyone's got it now, Benji.
I'd say, because she kept sleeping, so she didn't wake up at Umrah then, so she didn't connect with Rana, that was her journey, so she didn't do anything.
It's not quite in that context in this Bhangati here. Go on, Benji.
Is it because she's become so consumed with, for example, Maya and other distractions in life, now that death is on the doorstep, that she's forgotten about the spiritual journey that she should have been on while she was in that?
So it does mean that, but just now use the Bhangati itself to, Benji, what was you going to say? So that is right, what Benji's just said. So I will go through it as well. Obviously, I know a lot of you probably didn't hear that. Benji, what were you going to say?
Yeah, what I was going to say was the way I've interpreted it is like our purpose here. We've come here to jot down and to remember God, not to remember Bible. But obviously, in this context, she's forgotten about the true essence, the true purpose of why we're here.
So that is basically it, what it's saying. Okay, so but somebody just use the actual words itself and just somebody go through what the sutti actually refers to. Shall we do one more picture to like help us? Because the pictures really help, don't they? Okay, yeah. Is that cool? Yeah. Okay, alright, now go on.
We're all asleep, she's asleep.
I'm not.
I'm asleep. You're awake, I'm asleep. She kept
Sleep in which way?
As in, like, she's asleep to
Huh?
like to realization of
Okay.
Waheguru. So she's asleep where and then like the day, and she's forgotten the actual journey that she was on.
So who's? Can somebody just explain what is the dawn? What is the day? Jara din chad gaya?
Youth.
Huh? Din chad gaya. Anybody else different? So Benji again. Go on. Sorry, just that young thing there.
Is it
Go on.
light?
Huh?
Is it your life?
So imagine this now, like, so just think about this, okay? So that was right, when we're asleep from inside, yeah? So we've remained asleep a whole life, but remember, fit it into the Bhangatiya. Now you've just woke up, and it's day. What's this day? What referring to chitta then, chadaya,
Old age.
Huh?
Old age.
It's keeping the same thing in place. The old age, the day referring to white old age, saying that old age has come. Basically, again, what we've been saying, time for maut. Because after old age, there is no other avastha to go to. There's no other stage to go through. You still got that hope. You're in your youth. You're going to go into your old age, or when you're into your childhood, you're going to go into youth. From youth to there, like Maharaj says, that teen avastha. Bar Jwani ar Birdfun, Teen Avastha Jan. So it's this real, it's again, so it's keeping that in mind. Sutti, Tehi Guni Sansar, Pram Sutta, Suttya Rain Bihani. Where's that from? What Bani is that from? Sorry? Hanji? Tisi kaisi? We've remained ignorant our whole life, we've not awakened, and we've just been lost in this falsehood. And then it says that next thing you know, I've woke up, meaning woke up, realized that old age has come, I've got to go. So this is what this means. Sutti char thiya pulli vaatad yes jiyo. It's saying that I've been lost. My whole journey, that the purpose I was here for, I've been lost from it. I've got off track, you know. So a lot of us, we look awake, yeah. I look awake, but it doesn't mean that we're really awake from inside. To be awake means when we reach Babek Buddhi. Babek Buddhi means that distinguishing mat, that wisdom, when you're able to see things for the truth, for as what they actually are. When you realize the true essence and purpose of life. When you can, you know, like people have got questions today, they'll say, is this right, is that wrong, is this a pap, is that a pun, is this something good to do, is that a sin? And awakening means when you're able to see these things and you have this wisdom. But we obviously receive that wisdom from Guru Sahib as well. But as we follow that wisdom from Guru Sahib and cleanse ourselves inside, there's something will awaken inside, and we'll be able to start distinguishing ourselves from inside as well. So Maharaj is over here is saying that Tashe Nalu Muttiyas Dukkha Ku Tariyas Jiyo, which is that second pankti, and is talking about that being separated from you. Muttiyas, remember we said, means separated. That is the true pain. That is what it actually means to be suffering. All our suffering comes from that one very thing. And what happens now when we're in this mode? You know, when you realize that you just feel lost, you just feel that I didn't wake up, and now you're in this pain, but you realize I'm in this pain because I'm separate from where I've come from Vaheguru. So now what happens? What happens when your leg's in pain? What do you do? If you're in immense pain and your God just giving way, do you just forget about it and carry on?
You go to the doctor.
You do something, don't you?
Yeah.
You react to that pain. So what is this pain really? What is it? It's dokha. It's daru. It's a medicine really, isn't it? So you know how we take things negative? We think, Hai, baha dokha diya. Yeah, and we take that to be something really negative. But you know what? Pain isn't actually negative. That pain is a savior. That pain is actually saying, react to what's happening to you, otherwise it's going to get out of control, something's going to get worse. That pain is a gift to us by Vaheguru in letting us deal with it, react to it before something gets out of control. You know, people that lose their feeling in their legs, and what ends up happening to their legs eventually? So if somebody's lost the feeling in their legs, yeah, but you know, so imagine there's nothing wrong with them in that sense, other than that, but they lost their feeling. Why can it get to that point where their leg ends up getting amputated?
You don't. If say hot tub fell on you, you wouldn't know.
No.
You can't feel it.
Yeah. If you end up getting infections or whatever, it starts to decay. God, you got something, you won't even react. You won't even know. You won't react to it quick enough because you can't feel it, and eventually things can get out of control where it needs to be amputated, otherwise that whatever's happened that could start traveling. But so see how pain is a gift. It makes you react. It's actually something positive. That everything that Maharaji has created is amazing within itself. But because of the way we're trained and made to think within this world, we start to perceive things as something that's negative. That's negative. But really, Vaheguruji's system, there is nothing negative about it. Yeah? So everything is working from compassion. Even our pain has been given through compassion. So anyway, so when this happens to this bride now, is thinking I'm separate from her, you get this sick feeling inside and thinking, what have I done? Dukkha kutariyas, you've taken on all this pain, it's because you're separate. What do you do from that point? You react. And after this, how do we get out of this mess? How do we get out of this mess of ignorance? How do we win? How do we win in our Guru's eyes? How do we win in Vaheguruji's eyes? Is when this starts to happen. With just before we look into the actual, let's just break down some of the words. So now we're saying that Tod Gun Main Sab Avgana, that Sab here obviously means all, but then so everybody should more or less, I've not translated any of the words in the top line, everyone should more or less know they're quite simple. Tod means you, Gun, what's Gun? Hanji? Virtues, yeah, good qualities, merits. So Tod Gun Main Sab Avgana, what's Avgan? Sorry? What's Afghan?
Bad qualities.
Yeah, bad qualities. So remember, the ara just negates the word. Okay, so over here it's the ara and the vava. Okay, so it negates the word, meaning like bad qualities. Yeah, and then everyone knows what ek means. Gun Main Sab Avgana ek Nanak ki ardas jiyo. Maaf karna, over here, Guru Nanak Dev Ji is doing the ardas. Remember, it's apne aap nu sambodhan if we go back to the way we started the Shabad. So then Ardas, everyone knows Ardas. But Rati, yeah, everyone knows what Rati means? Yeah? What does Rati mean? Sorry? Yeah, so if we're speaking, you know how important grammar is, and like even bindiyan are. So remember, there's no bindi here. So if we say Rati, what does that sound like we're saying?
Last night.
It sounds like we're saying last night, doesn't it? But in this pankti here, it's not actually referring to last night. The way to get the arth right in this pankti, you would have to put a bindi on. It's actually Rati, which changes it from being last night. It's plural. It's talking about all nights. Yes, Sariya Ratan. It's talking about Ratan, many nights, all nights. Yeah, so over here it's got the word sab. Look, it says sab, makes it all, makes it plural. So just looking out for these little things in Gurbani. Yeah. So sab Rati, and then Sohagani. And then Sohagani is, how would you translate Sohagani? Anybody else want to put it into their own words other than what I've put on the board there? So we've got happily married brides. So it's plural here as well. That's why it's got a Bihari. Sohagani is talking about brides. Okay. So Gurbani's actually explained what a Sohagan is. Sohagan, normally people would say somebody that's just married. But according to Gurbani, Sohagan is not somebody that is just married. Sohagan, Guru Sahib ji saying, Ta Sohagan jani hai. Only refer to her, only she could be referred to as a Sohagan if Lagi ja shautare pyaro. So there's one way of looking at it, is the way it's translated there, if she has enshrined love for her husband. But another way of looking at this is if she's won over her husband's love. Je us ode pati ne apne andar ode vaste pyar dhar liya ya, ta onu Sohagan keh sakde hain apan. Yeah, so if she's actually won him over, wo Sohagan hogi. Yeah, get that? Happy? Theek hai. So then we've got the word here, Dohagan, is the opposite to Sohagan. Yes? So Dohagan then is the one that hasn't been able to make her husband happy. So let's now put this into a sentence. Who wants to put this into a sentence? Tudd gun. Let's start off with Tudd gun main sab avgana. Tudd gun? Tudd gun? Yeah. So Tudd gun main sab avgana. So over here, it's not saying that your virtues, it's saying that you are full of virtues. So in Gurbani, sometimes you have to put the words in between the words yourself. Yeah? So Tudd gun, you are full of virtues. Tudd gun main sab avgana. I'm just full of faults. Okay? And then, so what's happening now? She's in this pain. Remember, pain. You've realized, I'm dukhi. I'm in the state I'm in today. I've got anxiety. I've got depression. I've got all these things happening to me. I'm attached when something happens in this world to my child, to my mother, to my siblings. I feel that pain and I can't live with it, and it changes my state of mind. Why all of this is happening to me? Because I'm separated from the truth. I'm going through all these emotions because of that one thing. All of that is doing this to me. The separation is making me go through anxiety, is making me go through breakdowns in my head. If I'm starting to do irka, if I'm starting to become jealous of someone, it's because I'm separated from Vaheguru. That jealousy then will kill me as well. It'll kill the shanti in my mind. Would we ever think of that? That somebody could actually be suffering with anxiety because they're slandering? Would our doctor tell us that? Could we ever walk into our doctors and then could he ever diagnose that, say, you know what, I know why you got anxiety. Is Nindya nahi karda? Has the doctor ever said that to you? Do you slander anyone? Guru Granth Sahib Ji does. They're making us think. They're saying if you're suffering with anxiety, it could be because you slander people. Yeah, it's these things, like, I'm sorry I've forgotten the panktiya themselves, and but it's a different topic. But what I'm saying is, this is that pain. Do you understand? The pain is when you're jealous. Jealousy is a pain. Greed is a pain. When you're stuck in these pains of anxiety and anxiety come through these things, when you get into that state, then we're saying, Waheguru, Tud Gun, you are full of virtues that main sab avgana, all the faults are inside of me. I am like this because of my own self, because of what I've done and been separated from you. Then what happens? This is it now. This is the turnaround. Remember we said, what's the solution? The solution is when you fall, when you surrender and say, I've lost. So, Ek Nanak ki ardas jiyo. Then Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying, I've got an ardas now. I'm going to plead in front of you now. Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, Ek meri ardas sun la. Listen to this one ardas. Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying to Akal Purkh. What's that ardas? They said, Sab rati sohagani. Can everybody work this out? Remember, rati is plural, all nights. Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying, Kende sab rati sohagani. Main dohagan kai raat jiyo. What? Try and put that into a sentence. Sab rati sohagani, what does that mean? Remember what we said in the beginning. It's a very intimate Bani. Very intimate. Somebody, Baji, was you going to say something?
Sorry, I was going to say, would it be like when the white girls go to bed?
Yeah, it literally does mean that. Guru Nanak Dev Ji, so Waheguru Ji, so intimately had such that close relationship with Waheguru. Literally imagine being married to Waheguru. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is now crying out and asking, saying, Sab rati sohagani, that all of these sohagans that have made you happy get to be with you every night, all the nights they get to enjoy and be with you in bed. Sab rati sohagani. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, Main dohagan kai raat jiyo. They said, but what I know I'm a dohagan, I know I haven't got those qualities. Can you just give me one night with you? Just one night. And that's like that pukar and that benti that Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paatshah Ji is saying in front of Waheguru Ji. Do you guys understand that, like, in which kind of like context, in how Maharaji is talking, what they mean by this? So remember, this is still the literal translation, but hopefully we can understand and feel this through the literal translation. So can you imagine this, how Guru Nanak Dev Ji literally sees themselves as a soul bride? Remember what are they doing? They're making us feel like that about ourselves, feel like that bride inside, and wanting to be with Waheguru Ji to that extent. And they're saying, I'm doing an ardas now, I've failed. I know that I messed up being engrossed in all of these materialistic things and everything else. I know I'm in a mess, saying and begging out and saying, give me one night. And people have translated that different ways. Professor Sahib Singh is saying, so many of these brides get to enjoy that colour and that juice and that love when they call out to your name and when they have this amazing experience of you inside where they can feel your presence. Give me that experience when I say your name too. Professor Sahib Singh is translating it like that with some of my own wording in there. And then some of the other way of looking at it is to say that when you're asking to be on bed with Waheguru, you're actually saying that I know the only way out now of all of these problems and this pain, I just want to merge with you, I want to be one with you. And being one with Waheguru isn't no easy task, isn't no easy goal. We'll look at that in the next Bani in Suchaji, which isn't next week, but the next seminar is on the 28th. So, ek hafta shad ke, so 2 hafte tak. So it's in 2 weeks' time. So, this for me, when I read this Pangati, it's literally, I feel like I'm on my knees and I'm on the floor and I'm like inside just like crying out and saying, I'd love to have that one night, just to be in your absolute presence and just to be away from this mind, how this mind is so chanchal and it just moves around and takes me from here to here and it's just never stable, and just to be in your presence and feel just to feel that experience of being timeless and away from all of this anxieties of the world and the attachments of this world. So it's that cry, it's that pain that will take us there. So that is the last Pangti of this particular Bani. And what I'm going to wrap up with is, so if you take your minds back to the Sakhi, you remember these all these women in front of Guru Nanak Dev Ji Patsha, and there's Noor Shah standing there that was trying to change Maharaji into trying to hypnotize Maharaji and stuff. Remember said they've all failed. So just going to give you some jankari. Jankari means just like for your information, that within the Parat and Janam Sakhi, can you remember like we went through some of these terms last week? What does Parat and Janam, what does Janam Sakhi mean? Whose life are we referring to when we say Janam Sakhi? Sorry? Guru Nanak Dev Ji's. So from the word Janam meaning their life, and Sakhi meaning the stories of their life. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji Patsha's Janam Sakhiyan, in there it says over here, Maharaji then straight after this Shabad, after this Bani, Guru Nanak Dev Ji then uchard another Bani there. And then Guru Nanak Dev Ji Patshaji went into, then what they did next was they thought, you know what, we've not been able to win Maharaji over yet and still. So what they did was they said, the Pratan Janam Sakhi writes that they all got together, tolkiyan leke, and they all started to dance around and in front of Bhai Mardana Ji and Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Again, the purpose and the reason for them doing that was they thought they could kind of win them over and kind of lure them over as well, as in like put their calm on them, you know. So like they were dancing in a lustful way and thought maybe that Guru Nanak Dev Ji will fall in this way. If our magic hasn't worked, let's use the magic of our youth and beauty. But even that, then Guru Nanak Dev Ji ne utte shabd ucharya, which is Tal Madhire Kat Ke Kaat Dolak Duniya Vaje Vaj. So you can look up this Shabad. I forgot to put the Ang on, but you can ask for the Ang later. It's a long Shabad. I'm not going to go through it because the seminar is about Kuchaji. It's just to give you the information of the whole story. After this, then what they did was, then they bore over, straight after this Shabad, Maharaji went into this Shabad. This is an amazing Shabad. So this Shabad, so remember how we said in the Shabad, the Kuchaji Shabad, not in many places you can find it linked with this Sakhi. But this is the Shabad that is more often linked with this Sakhi, where Maharaji is saying to these women, saying, Galli asi changiyan. So remember like how we said about Bani, looking at the grammar in Gurbani. So over here, it's spelled Galli, but Galli with the Bihari is a plural word. So making it, so it's actually Galla. So over here we would pronounce it Galli in Punjabi. So Maharaji says Galli asi changiyan, achari buriyan. So remember the word we looked at, the judge also means achar. Achar means your character. Guru Sahib Ji saying to these women, this is Galli asi changiyan, that you might be good with your words, you might be able to trick people from the outside, and like Maharaji says that Mannahi Preet Mukho Gand Lawat, you convince people with your words, but from inside you're empty, you got no love. So Maharaji is saying, Kende ke Galli asi changiyan, achari buriyan. It says Galla, we make ourselves out to be really good with the way we talk to people, and we can pull people in. But kende achari buriyan. Achari means but your actual character and what you actually like from inside. This says, oh the bahut maharaya, but it's very low, your character is. So they're saying this Shabad to these women. This says manho, from your mind, manho kasudda. Kasud comes from the word shud. Shud means pure. The kakka negates the word, making it, saying that you're impure. This is your minds are impure. Kande manho kasudda kaliyan. Kande your minds are black. Manho kasudda kaliyan. Bahar chitaviyan. Kande but from outside you're wearing white robes. So you're tricking people. You're making people out to people that you're so religious, you're wearing these religious robes, but inside you're completely black, and that's what they're saying to these women. And then Guru Sahib Ji says that, Risa karhe tinadiyan jo sevehe dar khadiyan. And then Risa karhe tinadiyan. This says you're trying to be like those. Risa means when you're trying to copy someone. When you're trying to be like somebody else that you're not really. Risa karhe tinadiyan, you're copying those jo sevehe dar khadiyan. But those are standing at the doorway of Akal Purkh from inside. So the vichar to this is very deep when we look at this. How many times this is happening in our life? We look at somebody and we're thinking, well, if they're doing that, if I start doing that, then I'll have the same result as they've got. You know, sometimes we see somebody maybe joping naam in a particular way. We see someone practicing their dharm in a particular way. So if we sometimes see someone crossing their legs in a particular way. They sit down at a particular time in the morning, cross their legs in a particular way. They breathe in a particular way. They use breath techniques, yogic postures and yogic breath techniques to jap naam. One person looks at them and thinking, they have become so amazing, this person, but actually genuinely might be in love with Waheguruji from inside, and for that reason they've got so much compassion. Wherever they go, you can feel their presence, and you're thinking, if I do exactly what that person is doing, breathe exactly like that, sit exactly like that, I'm going to get to be in that state of mind where they are. Guru Sahib says, Risa kare tunadiya, you've ended up copying those, that it's about where they are from inside. That doesn't mean we don't need an external practice or a rat or a discipline in life, but it doesn't mean that if we copy someone just from what they're doing from the outside, that we're gonna, somebody could be washing the dishes at the Guru Kar, and you're seeing that they've got absolutely no result in their life, and you're thinking, see, doing seva at the Gurdwara doesn't work. But you can't see the intention that they're doing it in, so you've just based something from the outside, what you're seeing. It was that person's intention. Their intention might not be in serving the Guru at all. We don't know that. Guru Sahib is saying that, from the outside it looks like they're giving so much. They. But it says they, but, but it says from the outside they're giving, but from inside, they're actually asking for 1,000 times more than what they're actually, the amount they're even doing. De mange sahasa guna. Sahasa means 1,000 times over, they're asking back for. And then we're thinking, but we didn't understand it was about the intention we do something in. So Guru Sahib Ji is waking us up here saying it's not about that, you gotta go, it's because somebody has reached somewhere, is because they were in love from inside and how they were serving and calling out to Waheguruji from inside. Risa kare tunadiyan jo seve dar khadiyan. And then Guru Sahib Ji says that naal khasme ratiyan, they were actually imbued in love with Waheguruji. Naal khasme ratiyan mane sukh raliyan. That's why they were sukhi. They were at peace because they were imbued in love from inside. This is honde taan nitaniyan, and saying to these women, you've managed to get all these powers and you're using your powers for the wrong reasons. They said these people that are truly in love with Waheguruji, they're so powerful, but the true power that they have is that they contain their powers. They don't use anything for the wrong reason. So Guru Sahib says, Honde Taan, they've got the power, but Nitaniya, but they come across as being completely normal and powerless. But they've got all the power in the world inside. Honde Taan Nitaniya, Rehe Nimananiya, always remain very low and humble, Nimaniya. And then Guru Sahib Ji finish off and say, Nanak Janam Sakharta, Je Tinke Sang Mila. If you meet with the true ones that are in love from inside, completely imbued and are experiencing Waheguruji from inside, that have got all that power sitting inside but showing themselves to be so humble, Guru Sahib Ji says, your living, your life will become worthwhile. So it comes back down to that things, to have that desire to be amongst those that are truly in love from inside. Guru Sahib Ji Shabd Paatshah ne ga karke, they tried one more thing. That one more thing they tried with Sache Paatshah Ji was that they tried to then give Maharaji pearls, diamonds, gold. Even when this didn't work, when they were giving this to Maharaj, Maharaji then, Pratam Janam Sakhi writes that Maharaji uchar this Shabad de. Gyani Gyan Singh writes that Maharaji uchar de Yanadiya Manara Shabad with a Mai called Mai Jassi in Lahore. So he puts this Bani with a different Sakhi. So it's only Gyani Gyan Singh I've seen link this to this other Sakhi. But this Pratam Janam Sakhi, which is, remember Pratana means like it's actually written during the time of Guru Sahibans. So even though it's of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, but it's not written during Guru Nanak Dev Ji's time. This is the last Shabad that Maharaji uttered and recited to these women. After this Shabad was then when they surrendered and said to Maharaji, we are fools.
bless us. How do we now get out of what we're stuck in? That's when Maharaji gave him Sikhi Dan, blessed him with Sikhi, blessed him with Naam, and they escaped. And that last Shabad was Iyanadiye Manada Kai Kare Aap Nade Kar Har Rango Ki Na Man Hai. This Shabad in the Shabd Hazare Katha that I've done, that is already on our YouTube channel. I've done this in 2 parts, so the Katha of this very Shabad is actually in 2 hours, over 2 hours. Should we go through it now? No, only joking, guys. Right, we're gonna wrap up now. So so if you want to check it yourself, but I didn't want to not finish the whole Sakhi. Sakhi finishes at this Shabad. After this Shabad, they fall at Maharaji's feet and surrender. But what I want everyone to take away from this session is make a Gurbani alive in your lives. So don't just read it and say, oh, theek hai. It's not going to happen to everything you read. Obviously, Gurbani is very deep and there's a lot to Gurbani. But, you know, take a pangati, take parts of Gurbani, look into it, look at the Bhav Arth, what it actually means, and then bring it onto yourself. Think about where you are. Like, I really focus when I read the Asank Pauri, the second Asank Pauri, Asank Murk Andkor, Asank Chor Haram Khor, Asank Amar Karjahe Jor, Asank Gal Wad Hatya Kamaye, Asank Papi Pa Karjahe. I really look inside of myself. Out of all of these things, which one of these things am I still? And remember, just because you're not one of them on a particular day, it doesn't mean you're not going to fall into the trap and be stuck in one of those the next day. So I really try and focus on that body of Asank to say that Asank Kudeyar, Kude Farahe, am I falling into that category of a Kud, of a false person that's constantly lying and I'm ending up in this whirlpool of lies? Or it can make you reflect to think, if you've told one lie, you're going to fall into this trap of a whole load of lies. So take Bani and take it onto yourself. Don't think that it's for the next door neighbor only.
Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru.